Jerry. All right. So let's call the meeting to order. And the first item up on the agenda is the introduction of everybody here. I'm Steve Barrett, and Rick Goslin's behind me, and Jerry Waterman. We are the select board for Newport Town. And Denise Daigle is on my computer in the other room, so my name is on her face. And we got Steve Edgerly, Barry, Jason, Booth, and Jason Willis. And we got Bob Best, Chris Donovan, Dwight Burnett, H. Bell, and Ernest Charquette. Can you hear us, Ernest?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's everybody that's there. I believe everybody is in that I can see on the screen. Good. Next item up is the approval of the minutes.
Jerry's gonna read. Jerry had something to read.
Oh, that's right too. I'm forgetting the ground rules. We had adopted ground rules on November 1st, 2018. Jerry.
Be positive and respectful of others. Be on time to the meeting for breaks. Cell phones off. With Zoom, it would be nice if there wasn't much noise made. Be quiet when others are speaking. Raise hand if you want to speak. Stay on track when a topic is being talked about. Come prepared. Don't discuss personal issues. No arguing. The chairperson is in charge. If you have a question, it's okay to ask your facilitator for help by raising your hand, please.
Thank you. See, we got anybody else in the room, Denise?
Yes, we do. Becky Terrian is there. She's via phone, and
Okay.
Jason Booth.
Did you, can she hear us?
I don't think she's been admitted yet.
Oh, you can do that. I gave you co-host status.
Okay, I just admitted her, and I admitted Jason Booth. Yeah, there's Becky, and Jason Booth should be admitted.
And Mike's coming in.
All right,
Okay.
good. We got a good big crowd here.
Oh, here he is. Yep.
All right, the next item up on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of January 7th, January 14th, January 19th, and January 26th. These are budget meetings that we had getting the budget ready for town meeting.
I'll make the motion that we accept the motion as written.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any corrections, errors, omissions?
No,
Nothing?
I didn't see any.
No. Admissions, corrections, errors. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as printed signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Motion carried. Next item up is appearances by local citizens and visitors. And Barry is going to talk to us about conflict, select board meeting ground rules versus the Constitution / open meeting law. Barry.
Yes. These ground rules, I feel as though two of them were specifically built to deny us rights, open meeting law rights, and I would like to. They are rules. Let's talk about laws, because many laws have been broken by the select board, and that's most evident by the many complaints I've filed. And they have at least a dozen over the last 5 years, and they have denied every single one of them, no wrongdoing, and they won't even talk about it. And I want to point out something. These open meeting laws, you can actually, it can go to trial, and they do go to trial. And I want to just show you something. On my website, I have, a few years ago, there was a fellow from the Midwest, and he wanted to test the laws. He wasn't being allowed to speak at his at the meeting, wasn't getting accountability. So he stood up. He said, I'm going to make a citizen's arrest. He called the constable. A couple of police cars came, and they were hauled off and went downtown, and they were arrested. Now, I mean, they are laws, and I want to point out a couple of the laws that is constantly broken by the Select Board. And the first one would be boards, councils, and other public agencies in this state exist to aid the conduct of the people's business and are accountable to them pursuant to Chapter 1, Article 6 of the Constitution. So that's not only an open meeting law, it is the Constitution. So let me give you an example from the 7th of that, and talking to Steve. And what he did was he used his ground rules to violate a constitutional law. Now I want to remind you, what you have are rules. What I'm talking about are constitution and open meeting laws. Now everyone seems to take these lightly. They are laws. They are laws, and they are accountable. And you kid, the penalty is a misdemeanor crime and up to $500 fine. So I mean, the federal government developed these laws, and they developed them because small towns and other municipalities, they get into their own thing, they make their own rules, and they break the Constitution, and they feel it was eroding our Constitution on the small level for the most part. So I want to tell you an exact example from the 7th, January 7th. So I have it right here. Okay. At 5:58, Steve announced that there were 3 people on the agenda for the allotted 10 minutes. I told him I did not think that 10 minutes was fair for 3 people. I asked him, and then he told me, be respectful. He didn't answer my question. He used the ground rule, be respectful. So I asked him, how do you feel that asking a question is being respectful? He was denying my right to accountability, VSA 311. And I didn't get an answer. He wasn't being accountable. Just be respectful. Be respectful? You know, to go a little off topic, if you don't mind, Jerry, I have gotten huge amounts of disrespect for 5 years from this, and now you make a ground rule up that says I have to be respectful to you. That's something else. Anyway, so that's the first thing that happened. So, you know, I mean, I can't accept that. I can't accept that. So we're going to have I'm going to have Denise put together a special meeting within the, in the first 10 days of this month. You know, for Steve to all of a sudden, out of the blue, when I ask a question or anything he doesn't like, to tell me I'm disrespectful? No. Disrespectful would be if I swore or yelled or something. Even that is not. This is a democracy. Our Constitution was built by yelling and screaming and arguing, and it happens. It's in pursuit of a better democracy. That's part of the law. It's all denied. Steve Barrett, it's my way or the highway. You were disrespectful. Stop talking. Okay, that's one thing. And it went on. About 3 or 4 times I was disrespected on that last meeting. I didn't get that question answered. That's going to be the crux of my meeting. We're going to discuss it. And I know we could, technically, if... I've seen a lot of meetings from the Secretary of State, and I have actually seen select boards get together and talk about how they can comply to the laws and what they are and interpret them. Nope, no wrongdoing, and we're not going to make a cure. And I want to remind you, every complaint I ever filed had the same cure. Now, for those of you who don't know, you have to include a cure for a complaint, and it's some type of remedy, right? my one and only remedy, which was never, ever cured. I said, schedule special meetings to discuss the open meeting laws and see how we can all better comply to them for a better government. Never, not one time. All right, so then we have this muting thing all of a sudden. You know, I'm being muted. Steve mutes me 3 or 4 times in every meeting. Doesn't like what I'm saying. So 314, VSA 314, a law. This is a law, not a rule. A person who knowingly and intentionally participates in the wrongful exclusion of any person or persons from meeting subject to this subchapter shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and shall be fined more than $500. Being muted, in my opinion, and I feel as though it has violated my constitutional right, is a wrongful exclusion. And I'd like to remind you, Steve, you can deny it if you wish, but it is not your place. It is my place. The law is that I feel my constitutional right has been violated. I can file a complaint and try to get it remedied, but that never happens. So that's the second complaint on the second week of this month, because I don't want to have to put up with that every time I come here. So if you don't mind coming here, no problem. That's the way it's going to be. And I'd like to address one more thing that I've been struggling with, and that was we had 9 meetings on the water committee, and we weren't allowed to come. We didn't even know about them when they spent the $750,000. And Denise tells me, well, a meeting is not a meeting because there's some type of subterfuge of the law that Jerry and Rick stay home because delegated Steve, and therefore you don't have to comply with the laws because you told them to stay home and there's no quorum. Cute trick. Okay, so that being said, just recently I saw in Vermont Digger, City Council of Burlington. What are they went to trial. What for? A meeting is not a meeting. Judge didn't buy it. Ruled for the plaintiff. And that's good. I like to see that because I know you probably got that from your lawyer. It was just a strategy to fight in court, you know? But I want to remind you of that just to let you know that somebody, you know, they had to pay consequences. Now, I just want to briefly go over this and I'll be done. These laws were created by the federal government. And, you know, from what I read, it isn't, they don't want to prosecute selectmen. They feel that they're public servants. They won't want to do. You know what they want? They want compliance. But this select board refuses to even discuss the open meeting laws, and that's not good. And I know you think you're really doing something by denying each complaint. But one more thing. Several years, about 4 years ago, I called the Attorney General's office, right? Because they say they will prosecute, take non-compliance, egregious cases of non-compliance. They will take a case against a select board. So I called them, and it took about 6 months, but he got back to me. And he was interested. I show him videos and everything. And he said, well, here's what he said. He said, do you have any open complaints? And I didn't. I was just new. I didn't realize it. So, and I said, you know, I showed him videos. And he says, if you have video evidence and open complaints, I'll take the case. And, you know, that was a few years ago, and I'm sure he wouldn't remember me. But that's what a lawyer said from the Attorney General's office. So everyone takes it so lightly. I mean, like I said, the federal government does not want to prosecute public servants because they are actually an asset. So you have that. We have 2 special meetings next month. I'll have the first complaint in tomorrow. I don't want to be muted every time I'm here. Every time. And one more thing. During the meeting, and I have it here, around 8:18. Excuse me. Denise saw that I was muted, and she asked me, "Did you mute yourself?" And I goes, "No, Steve did." So she asked Steve, "Did he mute you?" And he said, "No." She goes, He did not mute you." And then I said, I tried to explain, but Jerry said, "No argument. Move on." I want to tell you what I was going to say. He was muted, and you know why I know he muted me? Because a notice comes on my screen. It said, "The host has muted you." He was lying. You're a liar. I'm done.
Thank you very much.
Nah, no thanks to you. You're not welcome.
Steve, there was 3 other people that I joined, Dennis DeLabriere, Bob Smith, and Mike Maynard, just so everybody knows that they're there. I don't know if any of them want to talk under appearances by local citizens or not.
Okay. Mr. Pitts? Okay, fine. What we'd like to do is have an adjustment to the agenda where it says on 7:05, Jason Willis, the Newport Center Fire Department Chief, would like to be put on right now. He has a fire board meeting, so we're gonna put you on, Jason. Let me see. Can you push your space bar and unmute? No.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. We'll turn it over to you.
I don't have a lot tonight. I just want to make sure that you guys didn't have any questions from me regarding the budget or any other questions. I want to thank Rick for coming down, visiting me one day. It was a good talk I think we had. The department is going fantastic, better than I could hope for. Our numbers are growing, seems like every month. I have 3 more applications tonight. Our roster's up to 25 people. Daytime response, nighttime response is amazing. As some of you seen, we just purchased a set of Jaws of Life. We got an extraordinary deal on that from Mansonville Fire Department in Canada. So hopefully within the next month or 2, we'll have those in service. That's going to help us with car accidents where we don't have to call in other departments with the Jaws of Life. It's going to make our response better. Hopefully help the community out much better and the wait times less. So basically that's all I got. I just want to make sure if anybody had any questions for me. If not, that's good.
All right. No, Rick did report out to us that he did meet with you. So it kind of kept us abreast of that meeting.
Yeah.
You guys have anything?
I'm good.
No, we don't. We're all set.
Okay. Perfect.
Anybody else here? Raise your hand if you have a question for Jason, and we'll see if we can get muted. No, I don't see anybody. We're all set, Jason.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Bye.
Huh?
Does anybody else have anything that they want to say?
To Jason? Oh, no,
Any of the others?
the other guys I'd asked, they said no, they had shaken their, I think they're here for ATV issues probably and some other things, so. All right, so, Mike's not here yet?
Yeah, he's
Is any other one?
Oh, hi Mike. We had a water, sewer, and solar panel report, and that's next up. And we have Jason Booth with Aldrich and Elliott to discuss the rate structure. We also have some of the members from the water board that are here to. So we will.
Mike Maynard's also here from Aldrich and Elliott as well. He's worked on our rate structure too.
So we'll turn it over to Jason.
Sure. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great, good. I was concerned. I had a little bit of trouble there getting on, but good now. So at the last meeting, we did talk about the rate structure, and we did run through some alternatives. And Mike had a comment about the number of total accounts versus the number of users or connections. And so we had made some
one?
adjustments based on
Dennis
Mike's
Delavia,
comments
you know
and
him,
had
right?
some discussion between
You
the
wanna hear
last
what's
meeting
going
and this
on?
meeting with Denise and Mike about just the different alternatives. So I'd like to step back and go through those alternatives and talk a little bit about the nuances between them with some of the changes.
Jason Booth from
So currently, the system is based on a flat base rate system. There are 137 users. Those are the total of number of bills that are sent out, or total number of users that the system is billed on. Each base rate, it's a base rate for the current system of $240 per unit. So just a couple examples. A single family residential unit is billed $240 per quarter. And another example here, under the current existing flat base rate system, a 4-unit apartment building is billed $240 times 4, so $240 per each unit within that 4-unit apartment building. So that 4-unit apartment building owner would pay $960 per quarter. That's the current existing system. We looked at 3 alternatives, actually 4 alternatives. There's a 2A and a 2B, as we discussed before. Alternatives number 1, number 2A, and number 2B are very similar in structure, in that I will go into one in alternative number 1, which is looking at another flat base rate system. With some of the changes in budget, at least budget projection, and looking at alternative number 1 based on the number of users. So the existing system has 105, so let me clarify this, sorry, 105 service connections. So there's 105 service connections within the community. So alternative number 1, using a flat base rate system similar to the current rate, based on 105 individual connections, and this doesn't differentiate between a single-family home or a multi-unit apartment structure, the rate would be $286 per quarter. It doesn't matter, again, if you're a single-family resident or if you're a 4-unit apartment building. Part of the issue here, looking at this alternative, is if I have a single-family resident or a single-family home, they pay $286 a quarter. In this example, on this alternative, a 4-unit apartment would also be paying a total of $286 per quarter. So an apartment building with 4 essentially single-family units would be paying the same as an individual standalone single-family unit. So that drives an inequitable system.
That's the one Ernest wants.
And so there's a little bit of a concern there. You're certainly meeting your budgets and bringing in the projected revenue, but you've got an inequitable system there in that, again, that single-family resident is paying 1 unit, similar to the 4-unit building that is also paying essentially the same fee. Moving on to alternative 2A and 2B, these are very similar, and that's why they're 2A and 2B. It's a flat base rate plus metered usage. So 2A is flat base rate plus metered usage. 2B is flat base rate with a 5,000 gallon allowance and metered usage. Again, looking at both of these alternatives, we're looking at them based on number of connections. So there's 105 connections again throughout the system. And with these alternatives, they're the same concerns as alternative number 1, where a single-family resident, an individual dwelling, would be paying the same base rate as a multi-unit property in and of itself, including all 4 properties, all 4 apartment units. Alternative number 3 is an equivalent user-based system plus metered usage. And as discussed at the last meeting, this is an EU-based system. It's a very common system across the state. that's used in a number of locations. And basically what happens is each dwelling unit or each individual living unit is considered one equivalent user. And those that aren't dwelling units, something like a store or something like the school, their equivalent unit would be developed or calculated based on the environmental protection rules or the water supply rules. They have tables that are set by the state that are used for design criteria and also used as a common system across the state for establishing equivalent units. Basically what you do is you say for a restaurant, let's say for example, if you have 10 tables, they tell you, they give you a unitized flow per table or per customer. If it's based on 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day, and then you can derive your equivalent units from that calculation in the state tables. So that's kind of the gist of an EU-based system. In alternative number 3, we're looking at an EU base rate and then metered usage. So for a single family residential unit, they would be considered 1 EU. Looking at the equivalent units across the town based on information provided from Denise and Mike, there's 150 equivalent units. This takes into account the school as well. And so what that does is that drops your base rate per account per quarter to $133 per account per quarter. You have more equivalent units versus the 105 total connections. So it drops your base rate to $133 per account per quarter. The usage rate remains the same from alternative number 2 and alternative number 1 at $6.73 per 1,000 gallons. So just a quick example here. Let's say you have a single family standalone residential dwelling. That would be 1 equivalent unit. So their base rate would be roughly $133 a quarter, okay? And let's say that unit uses 9,000 gallons a quarter, which is pretty much an average based on looking at some of the water usage data for individuals across the town. So let's say they're using about 9,000 gallons a quarter. That usage, that metered usage fee would be roughly $61 per quarter based on about 9,000 gallons per quarter used. So the total for a single family residential unit, an individual dwelling, per quarter would be $194.74 versus the $240 that's being currently billed as a flat base rate. Certainly somebody may use more water at an individual dwelling, somebody may use less. So this is just sort of an example of what an individual could look at. Now let's look at a 4-unit apartment building. You have a 4-unit apartment building has 4 dwellings within that apartment building. So that's a base rate of $133 per account per quarter. That's times 4 plus an average usage rate, again, of about 9,000 gallons per quarter per unit, works out to a usage rate of about $245. So in total, a 4-unit apartment building could see a quarterly water bill of $778 a quarter versus right now with the flat base rate, which would be $960 a quarter. So overall, we're looking at a more equitable system between single-family dwelling and multi-unit versus what again the store or the school would be paying. Is more evenly distributed across the community, as opposed to a single-family residence in alternative number 1, 2A, or 2B would be shouldering more of the cost of the water system than any sort of a unit apartment building or even the school potentially. So it's more of an equitable system, the EU system, and with the number of calculated EUs that we're projecting based on the data provided, it looks like it's going to be you're going to have some savings there on a quarterly basis. Some of this has to do with a decreased annual budget as well, as we discussed last time. That was a lot. Anybody have any questions? Steve, Denise, Mike, anything else to add?
No, you did a good job. Perfect.
I fully understand it.
Yeah, fully understand it.
Yeah. So I don't know about the water board. Is Becky still with us?
She isn't. I texted her. She had a prior commitment, but she's going to be back.
Okay.
Dennis,
So this is Dwight. I'm just wondering, what happens, this 900 gallons a quarter, if you decrease use, what happens to the operating budget or to recover if you just have less income coming in? Or, I'm writing this all down furiously, so I haven't really had a chance to look at it. So just help me to understand if you end up with less projected use, you went with an average, and let's just understand that better.
Sure. So the way that the system is set up is such that your fixed, your base rate, it covers, right now, the way this is set up, the base rate covers 65% of the projected budget. And then your variable rate covers 35% of that budget. So certainly you could have, the variable rate being the metered usage covers that variable portion, or that 35% of the budget. So certainly you could have some users that are using less water. You have some users that are using more water, and you could have a little less income on the variable side. But based on what we see across communities, this split is pretty common, and this split typically works well. You can certainly, and I say you, the select board, the water board, can make a decision to adjust the split between the fixed and the variable portions of the budget, such that your fixed fee or your base rate is covering more of that fixed budget. So you could go to 70%. We've seen that in some communities. It's typically hovers around 70. I'd say between 65 and 70% of your overall budget comes from your fixed base rate, or your base rate that's paid per account per quarter, and then the variable makes up the rest. So
really, this needs a couple years once you put this rate structure in place to try to figure out what that percentage is, whether it's 65 and 35 or 70 and 30. It really comes from experience.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does, and it also kind of depends on the annual budget as well. And the town can look back at past budgets to get a pretty good handle on what their fixed costs are. And so you can derive those portions of fixed versus variable by looking at past budgets. But certainly there could be some adjustment, and this should be looked at on a regular basis. So there should be a review of this by the water board and the select board, say in a year, or when the next budget cycle comes around, to make sure that whatever the next budget is developed and what that projection is, that you're meeting your targets, or you're expecting to meet those targets.
Okay, so if you have a 4-bedroom apartment,
Yep.
and we're looking at this, does that mean that each one of them need a town-funded meter in order to, figure this out? If we're going with what is it, the 100 and whatever connections? I can't remember how many it was. Sorry.
Right. So it depends. It depends on the alternative that's selected. So under alternative number 3, this, which is the EU-based structure, it's based on the what do I want to say here? The use classification of the building. So for instance, it's a 4-unit apartment building in this example that I have. So it's based on the number of units in the apartment, similarly to how a grade school would be evaluated, in that it's based on the number of students or the number of students and employees at the school. And if you go through the table that the state provides, there's a certain volume per day per student or per student and employee that's provided to make the calculation to calculate out how many EUs there are. So when you're looking at this, you're really looking at the EU-based structure. It's based on the classification of the building. So again, 4-unit apartment, each dwelling is a unit or an equivalent unit.
I gotcha. Okay, so now this becomes a little bit clearer. So, all right, so it isn't necessary to have, a meter per place. It would be a meter per building, regardless of.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. And so, what if somebody, for instance, has a meter already there, and they compare what's going on with what's, is just say you have a four apartments,
yeah.
and you've got meters in each one that you've bought independently, and
Okay.
and there's a discrepancy somehow between the EU way of calculating things and what you're visually seeing.
Well, so alternative number 3 is the EU base rate plus a metered usage. So the EU base rate is based on the classification of the building. So if it's a 4-unit apartment, that constitutes 4 EUs, and that's what makes up your base rate, which covers the fixed cost, or it covers the fixed portion of the annual budget that's established. So like we talked about before, 65%. And then there's metered usage based on top of that. So the usage is billed at $6.73 per 1,000 gallons used over that quarter. So there's kind of 2 pieces when you're looking at the alternatives. There's 2 pieces to the quarterly rate. So the base rate is one piece. Again, that's a fixed base rate. It covers the fixed cost. Then there's the variable rate, which is based on usage. So if there's a meter, and that is telling you what the usage is over that quarter, you take that total volume in gallons, you divide it by 1,000 and multiply it by the metered usage rate.
Okay.
Ernest, did you have a question?
Yeah, I got a question. A question and a comment, basically. If you're going to charge an apartment, then put a meter for every apartment and build the one that lives in that apartment directly. It's like the electric company. They bill according to the meters. Now, if you have 9 apartments, which I have, 9 apartment house, they have 9 meters, and they bill the tenant directly. The landlord is not involved in that. And the same thing with the water. If you want to bill, put 9 meters and bill each tenant directly. But right now, if you have 1 meter in that unit and you bill the landlord, you are breaking the law. You are breaking the law because you are billing for meters that don't exist. So I don't care which way you go, but if you want to bill the landlord, then have just 1 meter and bill for 1 meter, and then bill the number of gallons that goes into that apartment. If you're going to bill for 9 units, then put 9 meters and bill each individual differently. That's what they do with electric companies, and I expect the same thing with water. Otherwise, I'll tell you right off, I'll bring you to court. We've gone to court before, and we won. Because you can't legally charge a landlord for something that they don't have. I don't know if I've answered your question or what, but number 3, the one you have, number 3, is illegal. You can't do it. and the others, the others you can. But number 3 is illegal. I'm telling you right now. Is there any other questions or something or comments to make? I'll listen.
Thank you, Ernest. Jason, you want to comment on that, or?
You know, I mean, I certainly can. You know, the way that, and I'm not quite clear on how Ernest is describing things right now, but, you know, the current way of billing a flat base rate, so if you have that 4-unit apartment, each individual unit is being billed that flat rate. So that's an option here for the town to pursue. It's just, they could just continue doing the billing the way they're doing. So a 4-unit apartment, there'd be that 4-unit apartment would be billed for 4 units. So it wouldn't be based on the meter.
So, well, can I speak?
Certainly.
Okay. Keep in mind, when you go to a gas station, you pay for the amount of gas you use, and you pay for if you have a truck that gets 6 miles a gallon or 10 miles a gallon, you get a car that gets 30 miles a gallon, you still pay for the same amount of gas that you use. And this has got to be, the water system has got to be based on somewhere on that. You can't you can't say I'm going to charge for an individual for something they don't use. And if you want to have a flat rate, I won't argue with that. But have your flat rate on per meters. Otherwise, put a meter for each unit. Like the electric company, they have separate meters, and they bill the individual themselves. If they don't pay, then they automatically disconnect it, and they don't have no electricity in that apartment. So that's the same way here. If you're going to have a rate, then have it per meter. And that's the law says you have to have it per meter. You can't have it. You can't make up these figures like you've been doing. Otherwise, because as I say, we've been to court before and we won that case. And now we're waiting for Newport Center and see how they're going to come out, and then we're going to go after North Shore. So in other words, be honest.
Well, so the figures, to be clear, are not made up. They're based on data that's either provided by the town, being the number of accounts, or the number of equivalent units, which is based on a similar system to actually how it's set up now, where each dwelling, including an individual residential home or a 4-unit apartment, and each one of those units in the apartment is considered an individual dwelling. So none of this is made up.
So why don't you put 4 meters and build the individual direct?
It's not up to me to put 4 meters in. I'm looking at the rate structure based on the information that we have and based on what the town has right now.
Okay, well, as I say, if we're going to put meters, use it. Otherwise,
so the meters are being used in 3 of these alternatives to develop metered usage. In any case and in any system, you're going to have some sort of a flat rate. Ultimately, what it comes down to is you've got to cover an annual budget. So let's say we throw this base rate out the window. Then your metered usage is going to be, you know, I haven't even run the numbers here. But let's just say your metered usage would quadruple. So you're paying however many, 50, 60, $70 per 1,000 gallons or something like that. And so you're still paying the same amount. It's not going to change. You're
Right.
still paying the same amount.
I have no problem paying whatever has to be paid for usage, but I don't, because I've got some apartments, basically, I've got some apartments that are using 60 to 60 some odd gallons a day. And
Okay.
then I've got some other apartments that are using 100 and some odd gallons a day. Because they've got kids and what have you. So my question is, if it's not fair to have an individual that uses 60 gallons a day pay the same amount as the one that uses 110 gallons a day. You have to bill them according to the usage. And if you're going to have a flat rate, then you can then have a flat rate per meter. Do not have you can't have a flat rate per apartment. You can't bill it. You can't do it. So have a flat rate per meters, if that's what you want, if that's what the town wants to go, and then so much a gallon. If you have to raise the amount per usage per gallon, then everybody pays for what they use.
So
Well, I mean,
I've read about
that's
other
certainly an alternative.
alternatives. I've read about other alternatives where they have things called master meters, which in this case, the master meter would be the town meter at each building. And this happens, I read about it in California and other places. And then the building owner would install individual, at their cost, individual meters in which they would take what the master meter read for the gallon usage in towards that building and divide it between each of the apartments. And so it would be a part of, whatever structure, whatever was set up, in the building. And so it wouldn't be on the town in that case to install separate meters for every apartment within one building, but it would be up to the building owner to install meters and then to divide it up between the individual apartments.
So in other words, you're treating the apartment owner differently than you're treating a house. You're saying that a house, you have 1 meter and you bill them a flat rate. And an apartment, you want the landowner now to furnish the meters. So if everybody's going to furnish meters, I have no problem with that. But if you're going to have 2 different structures, then I have a problem with that. You can't have 2 different systems and use them differently. If you want to have a flat rate per meter, fine. I have no problem with that. But you can't charge for 4 meters when there's not 4 meters.
I think at this point, on the agenda, we need to move on.
Yep.
But the water board is going to take this information and have a meeting with their members and make a recommendation back to the select board on what we should do. I think, Ernest, at that point, you should get a copy of these new numbers and run them and before you make a decision.
Okay.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Excuse me, Dennis Delebreer is on the water board. Does he have anything to add, Dennis? Dennis?
Push your mute button or your space bar on your computer. Now you can talk. You gotta hold it down. There we go. No, hold it down.
Oh, there it goes. Can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha, Dennis.
Yeah, hey, I know these are suggestions, and like you said, it's time to move on. we'll take this information and then we'll go with it. And I think it's great information, and it's something that we as the town has to discuss, as the water board and the selectmen have to discuss, and then we'll move on. But we've got the information. It's great information, great suggestions, but we need more information probably. For instance, there's probably the amount of usage per household. I'm sure that's on record, since it's all metered. Things like
it is
that.
on your water bill too, Dennis. If you look at your water bill, your quarterly usage is on everybody's water bill.
Right. And what I'm saying is, you could compare it with schools, apartments, and in other houses, and just see how, in general, how that goes, and then we can make a decision.
All right, thank you.
But like you said, though, you still have to have a base rate, or else I've seen it where, like, you had towns in the past that they were on just metered, and people were such on a budget that they hardly used any water, and they didn't make their payments. So they have to have that. And I understand you have to have that base rate.
Okay, thank you. We'll, as soon as Becky gets back, schedule a meeting, and we'll all get together for that. Thank you, Jason.
Sounds good.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on the agenda at 6:20, which are a little past right now, is Wendy Matthews, Michael Straight, Woodman Page, all in reference to the Northeast Kingdom Broadband.
Steve, can I say something first?
Certainly.
There's some more people that got added in: Christine Holoquist, Evan Carlson, Michael Straight, CJ Thompson, and Wendy Matthews. Were added in when Jason was making his.
They're probably all there for the broadband.
I don't know. I just want to make everybody know who's here.
Yep, I saw them on there. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll turn. Who wants to speak in regards to that? Wendy?
Well, I could start, I suppose, but I think the members that we have with us who are more experienced than me might be able to speak more eloquently to this. But our proposal is to bring the communications union district called Northeast Broadband to our town to have us be members in order to, be part of this group which is seeking to improve the infrastructure of the broadband wiring, fiber optic wiring through the Northeast Kingdom. I've been researching it and looking into it, and find that they're a really, really fine group. They're really looking to serve our area equitably with this much needed service. And I'm not sure who else from the group would like to speak, but I feel like perhaps Michael Straight or Christine or Evan, any of you would probably be able to, with your more experience, speak a little bit more to this topic.
Well, that's fine. Whatever would like. We got the document at the last meeting.
Yes.
I did read that, and I have a number of questions, but that would go to the board for discussion. But I think it's a novel idea that you guys are trying to do something that 4 governors and probably 5 different communication companies were unable to do. So, who would like to speak?
Well, I guess I'll kick in. This is Christine Hallquist. I was your, the CEO for Vermont Electric Cooperative. I've been working on this since 2003, and I'm not going to quit till it happens. So I'll just keep it that simple.
Yay, Christine.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it needs to be a townwide vote, and I don't.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, unless you guys want to, it doesn't have to be.
Put it on so I can hear.
Well, it looked.
The original members had to do a townwide vote, but now that the CUD is formed, it's either your select board can do it with a simple vote.
but then that commits the community as I look at it like our water system here we have in town, in that the whole town voted, but it's the water users pay the bill, similar to what this broadband would be, correct?
Actually,
Not exactly. I don't know if, can you guys hear me okay?
Evan, yes, we can.
Carlson, I'm speaking over a satellite. I'm speaking over a satellite internet connection, so I have a very bad delay. I'm working also to solve this problem for myself, but also for all the other unfortunate users of satellite internet across the Northeast Kingdom. So to answer your question, I think, it's important to recognize that while we give the analogy of the CUD being similar to a water district, the main thing that is different is that it's up to the individual households and residents to subscribe to that service, and that there is no cost to member towns to participate and be a part of the district. We are unable, through the legislation that the state had passed, to garner any tax revenue or any type of dollars from the town. We are primarily funding this network through grant dollars and through federal programs that are available, and working to really coordinate this effort. The major thing that I think that the CUD brings is that we are the people feeling the pain of a really bad internet connection day to day. And when you have 32 member towns now with residents that are actually feeling this pain day to day, we're pretty motivated to get this problem solved. And in the past couple of years, there has been some substantial funding that has started to come and trickle into the region to be able to solve this problem. We have some planning that has been completed in the past year that provides a bit of a roadmap for us to actually start building this, and we actually expect to start doing some construction in the next year. So for Newport to participate, it takes nothing more than a simple select board vote. And again, it doesn't commit residents of the town to anything other than being a part of our planning process. And when fiber is run down the road in front of the households, it's up to the individual residents to decide whether they want to be a part of that or not. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'll add to that. We're expecting significant federal money coming. This has been recognized. This is not a partisan issue. In my previous role, I was working with, the CEOs and from electric co-ops all across the country. And rural America has this problem everywhere. It's an issue that rural America is clearly being left behind in the digital divide, just like we were left behind in the electrical divide back in the 30s. So I think we want to be prepared to take, to get as much of the federal funding as possible in order to help out, because the business case for getting broadband to rural areas just isn't there, nor was electricity, by the way. It's very much like the electrical divide, and guess what? We managed to get electricity to every home and business in America.
So, Evan and Christine, I'm just curious. This is Dwight Burnett calling. I live on the end of a road. It's 2 miles from Highway 100, and when listening to Steve, this is not just for the town, the residents in the town, but it's for everybody within Newport Center. Correct?
That is correct, Dwight. Our mission that was approved by the CUD of, I think it was 28 towns at the point when we approved the CUD, was to serve every E911 address in the Northeast Kingdom Broadband District. And so, that means whether you are 3 miles down the dirt road or you're in the village center, we are going to have 100 symmetrical internet service available.
I know everybody on this road would sign up in a minute. so I'm all for it whenever the select board wants to say it's okay.
What is the maximum speed you were going to achieve, or average speed?
I think that, our goal is to be able to deploy fiber, and fiber optic, it allows for symmetrical speeds. and can go. There's been tests recently with newer forms of laser, which really is the transmission of light through that fiber optic, that has gone up to terabytes symmetrical. So there is really, really high speeds available. I would imagine, we'll be offering 100 megabit symmetrical service, but we'll also be offering a lower speed service because, affordability is the really important piece to this problem that we're trying to solve as well. It's not just making sure that there's connectivity, but something that can be affordable to all residents in our communities.
Well, I am no stranger to IT, and 100 megabytes per second is a weak connection. I mean, I couldn't do business with 100 megabytes per second. You won't have any plans that get 500 megabytes or even 1,000 megs per second.
I would expect that we would have a gig service available.
Yeah, it's the capacity. The capacity is virtually unlimited with fiber optic. That's why we're committed to getting fiber to every home and business. Fiber has, it's if you think about the fact that you hang 144 strands of fiber with a terabyte each, that's 1,000 gigabytes. That's a lot of capacity. So I don't think there is any worry about capacity issues with fiber. We're using the speed of light, which is we don't know anything that's faster than that. So I think we've got a technology that'll last a long time. We were using fiber optic cable in our utility that was laid 40 years ago, or hung aerially 40 years ago. It's still perfect to this day. So I think this technology is going to be around for a while.
I know, but I was concerned with the services you would be able to offer the users. I mean, I know the speed of light and fiber optics and everything, but the user measures it in megabytes per second. That's what everybody knows,
Hey, Barry.
right?
Barry, so we actually, I think what the Communication Union District is committed to is to being able to provide 100 megabit symmetrical service. That said, we absolutely will be able to service much higher speeds. If you look at one of the other Communication Union Districts that already has an operating network, PC Fiber, they're based in the Upper Valley area. They are providing 700 megabits per symmetrical as their tier, and they're planning to start offering gig level service in the next year.
Yeah, that's good, but it's going to cost more for sure, right? 700 megs is going to cost a lot more than 100 megs. Yeah.
Right. And so I think our goal is to be able to provide a variety of services that can accommodate people that need just something that's going to be better than the DSL that might be available to them now, as well as for users that need to be able, that can afford to pay more and pay for a gig level service.
That sounds reasonable. I mean, so you're basically a little bit in competition with Xfinity.
Xfinity at this point is all coax and cable, so honestly, we see ourselves not in competition with coax cable because there is limitations on the speeds that it can provide. That said, I would be surprised if Comcast doesn't look to build fiber at some point, but I don't see them doing it here. It's just not in their business model.
Yeah.
They're super focused on highly densely populated areas like urban centers, which is the reason why they haven't built here in the first place.
Yeah, I see. So I guess I'm falling short of knowledge. I mean, I know I'm paying big money for 1,000 megs, but I can't live without less than that from what I do online. You know what I mean? I'm always using heavy loads or going back and forth, and But anyway, I'll be interested to see what's going on. Maybe I'll look up fiber optics versus whatever the Xfinity. I mean, I fall short on knowledge at that point. But sounds good. Good luck.
I'll tell you, Evan. I have, this is Dwight again. I get 10 to 15 max up here. So 100 sounds like a race car to me.
Dwight, and you're 2 miles off of 100. I'm a half mile, and I can just barely get 7. And I'm trying. Wow. And Barry, I'm teaching college courses in music with this. It's miserable.
Oh yeah. Well, I got Xfinity, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm teaching online, and even with 1,000 megs, it still screws up every now and then because the other user may not have the good enough connection. It's tough. But I mean, I'm uploading files a gig, downloading files a gig at a time. Video. It's I really need that power. I mean, 100 megs to me, I wouldn't even go near it. But I see people like you. You're saying you got 7. Wow.
It's miserable.
Oh yeah.
It's really hard.
You spend half your
The
day
only way
waiting
I
to
can
load.
make a living now.
You spend half your day waiting to load a page, right?
Sometimes.
Oh, I know. I mean, I went through this in the early 2000s. I had a booming business, and there was no internet, and I waited and prayed for a cable to come, and I tried everything under the sun, and everything is miserable except for cable, in my opinion. But this sounds promising. Fiber optics. I'll have to do some research. Maybe I'll get rid of Xfinity. They charge me arms and legs anyway, but I need it. I can't survive without it. But anyhow, I hope it works out.
The select board has, we were just discussing, how many towns have signed on to this?
33 currently.
33?
You can go to nekbroadband.org and you can actually see the full list of towns that are currently a part of the district.
I think it was in the packet we sent as well, isn't it?
Okay, it should be. I'm thinking it's just about as current as it can be.
Steve, this is Dwight. To me, it seems like if it's a simple vote, that's something that can take place. I don't see this as being a problem for the residents. It looks like a real positive thing, and especially since it's left up to the individual household as to whether they have it or not. I think this sounds positive. What you guys decide is up to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dwight. What we have been talking here just a little bit is I don't have a vote to pass it right now, but what I'd like to do is have a discussion with these two guys and not in the whole realm of what's going on right here. So we've got the documents. We don't have any other questions for the broadband people. We're all set there. And we'll let you know our outcome.
I'd just like to say if I may say one thing, and I'll reiterate what Christine Halquist said about funds coming in for this broadband. The governor in his budget has committed something like $20 million, and I was just talking to Senator Starr recently, and they're looking in the Senate to add more money, more funds to this if they're available. So, folks really need to. I think it's a win-win ultimately, and I think you should support it. That's
Thank
my
you very
opinion.
much. Thank you. Ernest, did you have something?
No.
Okay. I see your screen keeps lighting up, so very good. So I thank you for the presentation. Your document is very comprehensive. We'll have a discussion. We'll let you know.
Thank you so much.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on.
Steve, are you going to table this till the next meeting? Is that what you want in a minute?
No, after we get the majority of this done, I think the three of us are going to have a discussion right here today.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
All right.
Okay. And Denise, should I be back in touch with you about what they decide?
Sure. Can you give me a call on Monday?
Oh, I can. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time. Have a good night.
All right, the next item on the agenda we got is ATV issues and concerns. I think there's a bunch of people here for that. All I wanted to state is that I'm not prepared to do anything relative to that this evening, but I will take the information down I have been in touch with Chris Donovan, and we need to get all parties concerned here together and work through some issues that I have relative to making sure all these vehicles that are on the roads are properly insured. That's my biggest concern. But I'll let the people that are here tonight want to say something. I will take notes relative to your concerns, and there is another gentleman. Remember who that was, Denise, that wanted to be part of this discussion?
Mr. and Mrs. Bell, and they did get an agenda and they're on right now.
Oh, all right, excellent. Oh yes, thank you. So who would like to bring forward whatever? Anybody?
Well, I put it on the agenda, so I might as well start. Dwight here.
Yep.
So, this is basically a follow-up from the meeting that we had last summer, after we, had a very disturbing, start to the year since the trail opened. And I know that, there was all kinds of discussion then about, the trail and how it was marked, and, and claims that it was an accident and all that side of the thing. And I want to kind of, just recognize, that, the ATVs, at least up here on this road, are a problem for us. They're loud. It's difficult for us to enjoy our home up here. We're putting in a new home, and, by design, these things are noisy, and the way they're modified, they're even noisier. And we have a lot of people that have no connection to the community that come here. This is, part of the outcome with allowing stickers to be available to everybody. And you can't possibly identify anybody. There's no, if I were to complain about somebody, how would I describe it to somebody, to law enforcement or to the select board or to anybody else? It's impossible to be able to identify individual users because, the stickers are so small, the numbers are so small, you barely can read them when you're next to it and it's not moving. Try doing it when they're moving. It's just, the original intention, I think, was, the use of this had been years ago to try to give the club a chance to get up and running. Well, certainly we have seen that the club is very much running. And while it may be inconvenient for some not to have access to this road, it is not essential. They have enough of a trail network now that none of this should, have anything to do with whether the clubs are going to succeed or whether people are going to enjoy it or not. The priority should be the people that live along these roads, to make sure that we're all, be able to have our moments on the weekends and, the spring, the summer, in a way, that makes sense, for us to enjoy it here. So, and it also should be noted, I know Chris and I, sometime in the past, we hardly talk anymore. There's ATVs that were originally thought of as being part of the club were the smaller things, and he had mentioned to me that the club had no intention of allowing these great big ATVs, which are now showing up. It started off as single rider kind of things, and now we've ended up with hugely powerful. Almost 1,000 cc's. I wouldn't doubt they're going to go over that. Very fast, very loud pieces of equipment, and there's just no peace, no tranquility up here. For the entire summer because it's just constant traffic, and they picked this road, for their own reasons, and I think we need to look at this, and if something can't be resolved, I think, really, there's no reason that the town can't, choose to close a road entirely to ATV use, or at least to ATV use by people that don't live on the road. So I remember Chris and Steve had talked about this, and I think Jerry as well. The idea was to have access to the trail, and there isn't anybody on my end of this road that needs or wants access to the trail, and so basically it has ended up being a trail, and that's never the intention, and it's just become terrible for us to live up here. We can't do the things that we want to do and enjoy the life we want while we're up here. And these are things that are approved by the select board. They're not approved to be for road use by the manufacturers, or a lot of things, and I know people and select boards and governments have allowed them to be used. But I think we need to rethink some of this and say that there are some places where it's not suitable for them to be. I'd also like to think that maybe if we push them off the roads a little bit, that there might be more energy put into building a trail network, with landowners that have it, so that people that live along the roads don't have to deal with this sort of thing. If you were to use a sound meter and go out and measure the loudness of a pickup truck that you would buy at one of the local dealerships, I guarantee you'd barely hear them coming up the road and turning around in my driveway. And you guys all have vehicles, and the difference between just a regular road going vehicle and one of those is incredible. So they're much louder. So it's not the same as being next to a road where just cars, or trucks go by. They're a much louder, vehicle.
Not really. No, come to my place.
Excuse me. I have Mr. Bell has his hand up. He's next in line. So.
Yep. So that's I guess that's where I'm at this point.
Okay. Thank you, Dwight. Mr. Bell?
Yes, I've got a couple things. First thing I want to address is what I feel is the inequity of approving these vehicles to be able to use Class 4 roads. The town has made been completely clear that they did this for financial reasons, that they see it as a way to bring money into the community and into the town coffers. And at this point, it's the class four, and if you want to do that on your own roads, that's fine. But what you're doing is transferring the cost of your increased revenue onto the property owners of Class 4 roads. Basically, you get the benefits, we clean up the mess. Our road, we personally spent $250 to repair the damage, and I know it's probably several $1,000s were spent by the other residents on our relatively short stretch of Class 4 road because of the damage these vehicles do. When it was just regular street vehicles traveling the road surface was hard packed. When it rained, the water just ran off the road because it was a hard pack. These things come through and they churn up the road. We went for a walk, there's like 2 inches of loose soil after they've been through over a weekend, and when it rains, instead of the water running off the road runs off the road into the ditches. And the property owners are the ones who have to deal with that, as well as the litter that's been part of this. And also the increased crime. One of our neighbors almost had their lapdog abducted from their driveway because some ATVer thought it was cute and tried to lure it into their vehicle as they went by. So I think it's inequitable for the town to be putting their financial interests on the backs of the property owners of Class 4 roads. That being said, the next point is the complete disregard for any rules that the ATV drivers have. We only see maybe 100 yards of roadway from where our house is, and you can, at least 50% of the ATVers are exceeding the speed limit. We've seen preteens driving four-passenger ATVs full of passengers. We've had people through before dawn. We've had people through after sunset. We've had people, there was supposed to be an end date to the ATVs on the roads. We saw ATVs on our road into November. So this whole honor system thing that was put in place that, oh, if we give the ATVs their head, they'll be good Samaritans and follow the rules and behave themselves, has shown to be not at all what's actually happening on the roads.
Yeah, I want to make a point that I actually made a survey when we first were coming up on the weekends, and I also want to make a point that we are in the process of moving up there permanently. So we're not just going to be seasonal folks. We're by the summer we're going to be up there full time. But on the weekend, I made a survey of cars going by, and it was 7 vehicles that were not ATVs for the entire day. And then I forgot what the actual numbers are, but it was an increase of 480%. And I think I put this in my letter when we talked before. And I just want to also make the same point that Dwight did, in that we bought this place and we are putting money into it, and we want to come up there and retire because it was quiet, because it was away from things. I want to hear the birds that are in the wetlands right across the road. This was our dream, and it's really taking a toll on me to have these things come through constantly. I mean, I can hear them even when they're not right in front of the house. So this is a huge problem, and I don't know how to adequately express how much it impacts us.
Can I say something? I think I have a suggested solution. I know it's kind of, but sound is measured in decibels, okay? So when a snowmobile goes by and it's idling just very slow, the decibels are very low. They're a little bit higher than a little bit, you know, I know the decibel, something higher than a conversation for sure. But when they're roaring, the decibels jump up to like 100 decibels. And that is painful. If there was a way you could have a decibel limit, like a speed limit, in a certain areas, that might work whether people would obey it or not. But say when they go through Dwight's property or something, you give them a decibel rating that they must not go beyond. I mean, it would be hard to enforce.
Following the current law as much, and just so trying to impose new rules is there's no point.
Yeah, I guess so.
And the other aspect of it is it's not only the sound, but you know the Class 4 roads, as was stated by the Bells, they aren't maintained, and so I'm constantly looking at dust all summer long.
Yeah.
There's you can't underestimate what it is. Every time they go by, there's a big cloud that comes and it goes right over where I live. It's just and the only thing that is made available to me is for to reach into my own pocket and to pay to have somebody come and put chloride on it. And the road itself, becomes so that water flows straight down into the town road. So the town has to come down and repair, washed out areas. It's a very difficult, how do you? It's if it was just one thing, it would be something we could look at. But it's many different aspects to this that destroy what it is to be here.
And our house is right across the street from our Class 2 wetland, so we can't even treat the road.
All right, Ernest, do you have anything to say?
Yep, I've got a few comments. These back roads, the people who are living on it don't own the roads, number one. Number two is they don't pay enough tax to cover even that road. Everybody and the whole community is taxed to maintain that road. So to deny individuals the right to use a road that you're not paying to maintain is wrong. You cannot do it. And
Class 4 roads are maintained by the residents. They're not maintained by the town.
the class 4 roads are open. They're not your property. They're basically open to the public.
They're not my
class
property.
4 roads.
I am required to maintain the road. That's town pays
No,
nothing.
you're not required to maintain anything.
I'm
The
gonna,
law says you do not own that property, and the law says you're not required to maintain it. It's if it's going to be maintained, it has to be maintained by the community, and the people who are living on these dirt roads are not paying a fraction to maintain these roads. So if
Ernest,
you want, yes.
you're a little not correct there. Class 4 roads are the only thing that the community is responsible for on them is bridges and culverts.
Right.
The road itself is by the landowner that's on it. The town doesn't own any of the roads, but the town has its rights of way. The landowner owns the land, right up into underneath the middle of the road, and we as the community has a right of way on that owner's land. That's the way it works. So,
But they're not required to maintain that road.
Right, but you know, the select board has a decision to make as to whether to allow these vehicles, that's in state law, to use these roads. It's you don't get free reign to determine what goes on. There's all kinds of things that are not allowed on the roads. So because the town or the citizens maintain the roads doesn't mean that the roads are available to every imaginable use. That they don't equate, and so you're wrong there in trying to make that the case, Ernest.
You have to be registered. You can't put an ATV on a road that an ATV is not registered. You have to register. It's like a car. You have to register it. You have to have insurance on it, and so it's whatever goes on there, it's fully approved by the state. You can't put a regular just an ATV on the road that if you don't register it.
I got somebody else that wants to speak.
Okay.
I'm going to mute everybody if we don't control this. We're not going to talk to one another. The select board is trying to take testimony on all of this stuff to make a decision. So if you're arguing amongst yourselves, I'm going to mute you, so stop that.
Don't mute them. I'm sick of your muting. Why don't you just bring the meeting to order? Just ask them to come to order. That's all you do. This muting is illegal. It's a lazy, stupid, irresponsible way. I don't like it. Mute it. I will mute you. Why don't you just ask them? I have been here all 5 years. There's not one time that you asked to bring the meeting to order that I didn't come to order. Now with this mute thing, we're going to talk about that. Wrongful exclusion. I'll mute you. Why don't you do your job? I'm sick of it. I'm not going to let this go. Muting. Just ask them to come to order, and they will. I do every time.
I'm going to ask this meeting come to order.
Good. That's the way you do it.
That means you too, Barry.
I'm there. I'm going to mute myself because I don't want to say no more.
Mr. Fitz, you have the floor.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
I got to catch my breath. You guys have heard me every time. Once or twice a year, we come and say the same thing in front of you guys. I moved to almost to the end of a dead-end dirt road, not because I wanted to have traffic through all day and night. I did it for the peace and quiet, and I love living in Newport Center, and I love living on Pogany Hill Road. It's beautiful. It used to be a time when the ATV club would come and we would sign a petition and allow them to use our road because they couldn't get connections from one trail to another. And I used to sign that every year. And I have no problems with ATVs. I'm happy that people are out there enjoying themselves on those things. I don't do that, but I appreciate a lot of my neighbors who do. When the town passed an ordinance that said we could open the roads up to ATVs, my understanding was that we would, people using ATVs could use the town roads to get on ATV trails. As of last year, well, not last year, it was probably 2 years ago, the ATV club, because of what I've heard some of the other people say here, lost their connections to the trails up near Pogany Hill Road and near the Natural Resources Park, the town park on off of Pogany Hill. Because of their bad behavior, because they were littering and because they were causing trouble of some sort up there, so the landowners shut it off. So that made that the landowners or the ATV club again needed Pogany Hill Road to connect up with their trails. As far as I know, although the ATV club put that on their maps at Pogany Hill Road as part of the ATV network, yet they have a sign on the road that says this is not a trail, closed. People totally disregarded that. And there has been days when we've had trains of 15 and 25 side-by-sides come through there. They come off the trail that is rugged, rough, and hard, and so as soon as they get off that and on our nice
North
flat,
Country with the
graded
results of your
road,
test.
they put the pedal to the metal. They're raising dust. They're making a lot of noise, and they're totally disregarding the few people. There's only a few of us that live up there, and I know we don't have a leg to stand on. I hope the town understands we pay taxes. We love to have our neighbors ride their ATVs and get on the trails. That's great. I'm not real happy with people coming from out of state and from all over
Don't
Vermont
drink all that. I want that.
parking their cars in Lowell and riding into Newport on our road. They're not taxpayers in our town. They're not accessing trails. They're using our road as a trail.
Well, I know there's a lot of stuff going on.
I want the town to address that. And that's all I could say. I could go on and on and on for hours, and probably most of the people who don't live on a road don't agree with that, and I don't care what they think. I live on a dead-end dirt road.
I know. It shouldn't be much longer.
Which now doesn't exist. And I also agree.
Well,
it's
I'm gonna listen to
into
the rest.
night. They're in the middle of the night sometimes. It goes way on into November and December. I'm a cross-country skier, and I used to ski out on the, I think it's the Dunn Road, but Alan Matten lives on that road. We used to cross-country ski out there, and they're running ATVs on it now, so they rut the road all up. You can't even cross-country ski there anymore. So it really impacted a few of us people, and I hope that you just understand that.
They're all complaining about the.
That's all I got to say about that.
the what?
Well, thank you, Bob. We're
ATVs
taking
running
that
through
testimony,
they're
and
crying
we're
about
going
it.
to, try to work
Destroying their
something out.
properties.
We'll keep you all posted.
You know, this
I
is
appreciate
a law.
you. Thank
Quiet
you.
enjoyment.
Thank you.
I know it.
Does anyone know
CJ's
about
gone.
this?
I don't know if he had something he wanted to say. Chris Donovan, you want to talk about something?
Oh, you don't
Okay.
like it.
Thanks. He came back. Chris, you all set? Chris?
Steve, are you going to talk? I don't mean to interrupt, but is this something that's going to be addressed with somebody that has an official post within the club, or is this not a club thing anymore? This really is a decision that needs to be made it really doesn't matter about the club.
No, it's the town votes every year to allow the roads to be opened and or used as a trail. That has not come up yet. We have taken testimony, I've written down things from you, Dwight, things from Mr. Bell, from Ernest, Mr. Fitz. And I need to take our
He's going along with
we
it to
have
boost his
and
popularity, Steve.
sit
Because
down
there's a lot
with
of
somebody from, usually I work with Chris Donovan, and he's the one that's got his foot in the door with the club.
But he's not an official with the club. That's the only thing, is you have a disconnect there, because he can say something and then the club will say something else, and I know, and this is in no ways reflective of his skills or that. I'm not, this has got nothing to do with Chris. It's just that you've got somebody who's not an official part of the club in a decision-making position to be able to do that. He's, in my conversations with him, he says he's no longer a part of that. And so maybe that has changed. Maybe he has a role. Maybe he's a director. I don't know. But I think it's unusual to have someone in that position, because then he's, JQ Public representing the club, which isn't really a good way to do things.
So the way this is, I am Newport representative, Newport Center representative for the club. And actually this issue here technically is the town permit issue, because Pogany Hill is not a Bassa trail. So I'm not saying that we have to have some discussion with the club. There's been issues with the map, so on and so forth, that definitely needs to be addressed. But I do not feel that if you have a town permit for Newport Center, that you should be booted off that road. So I'm all in for discussing it. On the only reason I'm here is I'm from Newport Town and I ride an ATV and I have an interest in that. And like Bob, we've talked in the past and so on and so forth, and he respects that there are people in town that ride ATVs. And so there's just some issues that need to be worked out. I'm sure your road is getting used as a trail, and it shouldn't be. So we've got some stuff to address, but I'll be up front and say that in no way, shape, or form do I feel that any town road should be pulled off it, because if you start with one, then it's going to be another one and another one and another one. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, sure.
And CJ, you had something?
There we go. Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Chris said, because I'm also a Newport Town resident, and I also ride a UTV with my family, and I think he had a good point where I don't think taking one road off of it is the way to solve the issue, because I think all the roads, if you've got a permit for them, you should be able to ride on them. But I do agree that some issues need to be addressed, and I think the first meeting for the Borderline Ridge Riders is the 15th of February. And I think a lot of it comes down to also is trying to get some more of a law enforcement presence on there, some sort of enforcement, because it's just like riding on a regular road. I mean, if you've got a registered vehicle in your car, you're driving down the road, not everybody's going to follow the rules. I mean, a lot of us do, but not everybody does. But it doesn't mean you stop everybody from driving on the roads. But I mean, there's got to be some common ground to not be taking things off the road, but in some way enforcing it where, like, hey, I know I've seen the sign.
It costs money to enforce. They want more hours.
Natural Resource Trail where it hits Pogany Hill Road, and I'm sure people ignore it. It's not right, and I can see where Dwight and the other residents are upset with that, where it's being used by people that don't have town passes, that just come up from other places and are riding on the trails. But I think a lot of this is getting down to where there's a lot of good, responsible people that go out there and ride, and I'm only hearing all the bad things highlighted. I just want to say that there are a lot of good people out there, myself included, that follow the rules and that enjoy the pastime. And I can understand people that like I forget what their name was, that are moving up here permanently, that they wanted the peace and quiet and to hear the birds and all that. And I get that, but at the same time, some of us live in Vermont, and it's not because it's our idyllic retirement area. It's where we live, and we need to be able to have different types of recreation. And it does bring money into the area, things like that. I think we just need more enforcement and to fix some things out. So that's my 2 cents. But thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bell has his hand up, Steve.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm just making Bob is set, Ernest, Dwight, Chris, and Mr. Bell, you got the floor.
I just want to reiterate that there is a very, very significant difference between Class 4 roads and all other roads in the town. And that is that the town is paying for any increased traffic and damage that is done to all the roads except for Class 4 roads. So this isn't all roads are the same. Class 4 roads have a very, very significant difference, and that is we bear the cost of your guys playing on it.
Yep, we got that, got it written down.
Can I respond to that really quick?
Well, I just think you didn't
quiet enjoyment
argue between yourselves.
is only for
I'm not gonna
only
argue
for
at all.
tenants.
No, I agree completely with what he's saying.
Yeah.
I just think
That's what I'm
that
in
might be
Vermont
something where
anyway.
maybe there's some common ground with the club where some funds could be provided where the
Tenants.
club could help maintain those Class 4 roads that they use as trails. I mean, they pay to maintain the trails that are part of the Borderline Ridge Riders Network. They pay to maintain them. They sign them. They maintain them. I saw a lot of maintenance over on some of the trails this past summer. So maybe that's something that can be worked out where they maintain it like they maintain the other trails. So if vehicles are obviously, yes, they're going to tear up the roads a little bit and everything, but maybe we can get some money to be able to help with that. I don't know. That's just,
It becomes an issue when it's a trail and when it's just a town road. If it's just a town road where this community issued a permit through a sticker for allow people, residents, to use the town's roads to gain access to the trail system.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I just think when he's talking about Class 4 roads, if maybe we can get those to be actually part of the Ridge Riders trail system, and then they would pay to maintain them from the damage that happens from ATVs.
And see, that's one of the things we don't want to do is to, have it a trail system, because then it's everybody can, out of state, everywhere, can use that road. So, it just multiplies the number of people on it. So it's something that we have to work through. We've got that. I've written it.
I just want to make sure you understand the position that my family has up here. This isn't about the people that live on this road. This isn't about Newport Center people using the road. This is about stickers that are issued to everybody and their cousins so they can use the road no matter what, and it happens all the time. And so we end up with an increased volume here, and it becomes a de facto trail, and it shouldn't be that. The idea is not for that to happen.
We've got it down.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You guys have anything for anybody on that? All right. Good. Thank you for all the testimony. We've got to move on this. So Chris had contacted me, and we were busy I was busy with the budget process. But now that that's over with, and I'd like to meet with you, Chris, and we'll sit down and do some discussing. Good. Moving on the agenda. Road Commissioner's report.
Did Bob Bestwait raise his hand again, or Steve?
Bob did?
Yeah.
No,
Bob did.
No, I was waving goodbye. I'm gonna sign off here.
Where are the other two?
Yeah, thanks for your time, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
The other who?
All right. So back to the Road Commissioner report. Mike, you're here?
Oh, things are pretty good.
Did you walk
It finally had a little winter weather. Everything had some minor hiccups, but we're learning. Everything seems to be pretty well.
A what?
No. What?
Good.
She's exhausted.
I think we signed the mileage certificate. We got what, 50? How many miles of roads?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that.
55, I think, isn't it?
I think it's total of 62 or something.
62? Wow.
62.7 or something.
Okay. 62.7 they're telling me.
Something like that.
Do we have anything for Mike?
No.
I don't have anything. You got your new roadside mower.
Yep.
The old one's gone.
Yep.
Good.
We get some weather where the roads are dry, we'll probably take it out and practice.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we got a bunch of wind roads made in the windy areas and pretty much just watching the weather.
What he said was that if roads get dry, you can take it out and do some practicing. Yeah. I think that's what I saw last year when I talked to you down in wherever they were mowing the soil in the snow. You know, they were cutting down. They were practicing. All right. Anything else for the road commissioner? The people that are on here, they have anything for Mike? Nope. All right. Denise, you got anything?
No.
The next item up is sign orders, liquor licenses for Hillickers and Glovers. Sign the tax map contract. Did we get that? I didn't see that contract.
No, hang on, I'll bring it into you.
Okay. And review and approve journal entries in the bank statement. Oh, did I sign one?
Not yet, no, it's just coming up on the agenda
Oh,
right now.
yep, okay. Oh, the other two already got it.
And then the two window licenses on the second page of each of these.
This one? Has the brewery come in yet? Okay.
We don't know if he's applied to the state yet, either, do we?
That's the second one.
COVID is.
COVID's over.
It's hardly, I guess.
He might be closed.
Oh, that's true. He might be, yeah.
You can still manufacture.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still selling.
Still manufacture. All right, if there's nothing else you have guys have?
Nope.
All right.
You want to accept the broadband?
Yes, that's what we should do. So, what we're going to do is discuss this broadband thing so people can stay and watch or whatever, but I have some questions that I want to talk to these guys about.
Does anybody have, Steve?
Huh?
Does anybody have any unfinished new business before you get on that?
I do, just something quick.
Steve Edgerly's got his hand up first, so Steve?
Okay, good.
Yeah, going back to that issue we had with the two buildings down at the end of Vance Hill, they went to bankruptcy court. I talked to the bankruptcy lawyer for a half an hour. He said he's washed his hands of it. He said the bank was washing their hands of it, and now it's back in her lap again.
So she's the owner and doesn't have to make payments on it.
Denise had talked with a town lawyer, and I can't remember what.
The bank's in the process of foreclosure, so we have to wait and see if additional paperwork comes in from the bank relative to the foreclosure. It's in the process of foreclosure right now, as far as the town knows.
And the fire marshal's been trying to get hold of her lawyer, and I had one name, and he's got another, so we're not sure where. I haven't talked to him lately, but we haven't got too far right now.
Okay. Thank you. And Barry, you had something?
Yeah, voting. People been asking me, a lot of people don't know that there's ballot voting. They don't understand what's going on. Are you planning to at least, I know you're not going to send out ballots, can you at least send out instructions to the town? I mean, I've had about 5, they don't know what's going on, and is it possible you can do something like that? I mean, because it's not fair. The taxpayers, they pay all the money for the town. They deserve something as important as voting. I would have preferred to send ballots to everybody. And I think you're going to pay the price, Denise, because what are you going to do? Every day people calling you up, wouldn't it be easier? I mean, how much money are you actually saving? I mean, I think ballots should be sent to everyone, if not at least instructions to make everyone aware that it's ballot voting. Some people I talk to think there's still going to be a town meeting. It's not fair. We pay taxes. We should be updated on something essential as voting. It's up to you. I mean, I'm going to do what I can with my LAC meeting. If you don't do anything, I want at least to email you and give me specific instructions on what's going on. I already know them pretty much, but maybe there's something I don't know about it. There's ballot voting. And in order to get a ballot at this time, you have to either go to the clerk's office or call you up and you'll send them one. Am I right? Am I got everything right so far?
Yes. Want me to tell you how it works, or?
Well, I'd rather you did it, the taxpayers, they pay this money. Jerry's trying to save $500, you know what I mean? I mean, it's it's the townspeople that pay the taxes. They should at least a letter that explains to them, there's no town meeting this year. If you want a ballot, you have to call me up or drop by, and you fill the ballot out, and you bring it back to me or send it back to me. People don't know those simple facts, and I think it's unfair that they're not informed. I mean, taxpayers always lose on these money-saving items. And, you're talking about saving minimal money, and you do have a grant. You told somebody you got, look to Pierce, you got $3,000 left on that grant. You can't spend $700-800 and just send a mailing out for the people?
How the people are going to be informed is it's on the warning that it's Australian ballot. They can go to My Voter page, which a substantial amount of people do that. They can request a ballot there.
No. I've been getting questions. Denise, they don't know. They don't know. Half the people I talk to, and they've been emailing me. They don't know.
I'm trying to explain, but I'm getting interrupted. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to give me a call. I just tried to explain it, but...
Well, what do you got? You got 5 people here? 7 people? I mean, you're 1,600 voters, right? 1,500? And you make an announcement in a place where only 5 people see this. It's not, I mean, I think out of respect for the taxpayers, you should see at least, how much is it going to cost, Denise, to put them a letter? What, it was 50 cents for a stamp, 1,600 people, $800. Everyone gets to know what's going on. All right, save your money. And, you're telling people they can go to this website and get all the information they need, but no one goes there. I'll bet you I could check the traffic. You probably get 100 people a month visiting that website if you're lucky. I mean, I think it would be a good thing to do, to give the taxpayers a little something back instead of shortchange them. They're being shortchanged. This is an opportunity to do ballot voting so a lot of people could vote, and it's not happening. We're going to save money off, and it's up to you. I mean, what are you going to do? At least you can do is give me specific instructions. I'm going to email for it, and I'll put it on the LAC meeting, and at least I get some traffic there. Not enough, but,
I just tried to explain it, but I got interrupted twice.
Well, explain it again. I mean, you said go to the website. No one really goes to those websites. I mean, it's hard. I know traffic.
Quiet. Let her explain.
Okay, go ahead. Please explain it one more time. So, I'll shut up.
$40,000 to run 2 miles to Dwight's house.
How it works is, it's on the warning, which is posted in 4 places in town, It is on our town website, and people can go to the Secretary of State's website, as well as the town of Newport.
I didn't want
Our VEM, it's called VEMS. You can go on there and look at your voter page. You can do email that way, and the email will come to the town in which you live. You'll get an absentee ballot that way. There's going to be, the warning is going to be published in the newspaper that says it's Australian ballot. Everything is done on Australian ballot. And it's going to be in the town report, which should be out in the next week or so, we give out about 400 of those every year minimum.
According to that, they say no. Yeah.
They say no.
Thank
They say
you.
It's not gonna cost.
Hey, Denise,
Yes,
the town report, can we pick one of those up at the clerk's office?
yeah, they're not out yet. Hopefully, we're gonna have the proof this weekend.
Okay.
Hopefully for Make Out Press, as soon as I have to proof it, make sure, try to minimize the errors, and then, should be out by the middle of next week, hopefully.
Okay, and there's still gonna be in-person voting, right, if you want to?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, but
Okay.
8 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. I still would have. I still think it's in poor taste not to spend a few $100 and send everyone information. I think it's all the money that's spent. Let's buy another lawnmower for $200,000, but $500-600 you can't afford to do a mailing for such an important thing. I don't like it.
The town, for the record, the town did not buy a lawnmower for $200,000.
117. I know, 117. Close enough.
I was talking again, interrupting.
Okay, yeah, all
What the
right.
town bought was a roadside mower / bush hog. What that does is comes with a warranty, first of all, and that's to mow all of the roadsides as well as to cut back brush to minimize the hiring of a big excavator to cut the brush. Mike can do that as he has time.
I understand. You need equipment. Okay. But I mean, I just don't. I think it's in poor taste not to give a little to the voters. I mean, you're talking minimal money. A mailing. You can't do that for the voters. I mean, you can pick it up here. You can read it there. Go to the little store down the street. Just send them a letter and explain to them what they're doing and what their options are. I mean, it's our money. It's the people's money. So give something back to them. They get very little in the way of the money that comes in for grants. It's all spent up. That's what I meant. We're talking $800, $1,000 to do a mailing for a voting, and you have a grant, you have money there. That's all I'm saying. I think you should reconsider and just send something to them. Half the people don't know. It's not fair. That's all I can say. I don't think it's fair. I think it's in poor taste. Do what you wish. I can't make you do it. Anyway, are we done? I'm going to go. Bye now.
Steve, are you going to come back to talk about the broadband with the people that are...
Yeah. Yeah. I do. No, this is what it means.
Explained it. Just do it.
Yeah,
That's it. Go ahead. Never mind what you
$5
said.
grand. She
Oh,
couldn't make a
this
cent.
is the way it is. Just do it.
Well, that's the way
What you say
I voiced
doesn't
my
matter.
opinion on it. I told her, I can't make you do it, but I think it's
maybe we'll use a second bathroom. You're a weirdo. I wouldn't live like that. No, I wouldn't. Sorry, I would not. I ain't cheap like you. You're too cheap for me. Wouldn't do it. I'm just telling you. It's not who I am. I see it out there. Get it. It's all right. Who cares? Stop it. Are you nuts? You didn't take it in. You can't leave that out there. This reminds me of my son Robert. Used to go. I used to order it every time. Reminds me of my son Robert. She's a little beauty. She's a little beauty. Jesus.
Hi, I'm Barry Sahasian. I'd like to talk about the famous blues bass line. So basically it is a root, third, fifth. In addition to the root, third, and fifth, you have a double chromatic approach to the fifth. Root, third, double chromatic approach to the fifth. There's a lot that can be said about the double chromatic approach. It's used in many places. It's used in jazz a lot, and one place that a very famous bass player used it quite a bit was Rocco Prestia in Tower of Power. His lines were all about that double chromatic approach. It also can be used in solos, and it often is, you know. Play it an easier way, and how I would do that. Then you have to start, when you start over, you have to shift down to the second. mind that could put you to sleep. So the first one,
This was my angel. Reminds me of my son Robert. Used to get this all the time when we would go. We would get this all the time. Like a lamb. They're stainless. What the hell is this? charge us for that. They'll charge us. A lot. Mommy loves her girl more than anything in this world. There's nothing or nobody I don't love more than you. My angel. My precious angel. My friend. My little friend. Rosy blonde.
Nothing.
Why don't you get cool it? Joe?
Yeah.